Hey, everybody. I'm super pumped to be joined by Casey today. I'm leaving some names private for reasons. But anyway, Casey has a tremendous short story to share, one that's incredibly inspiring, one that I think every new salesperson should pay attention to, one that I think anyone who might be questioning whether or not they're with the right company should be listening to, and anyone who is questioning this industry in general should be listening to. So, Casey, thank you so much for joining and sharing this. It was great chatting before we started recording. So welcome to the channel.
Thanks a lot, man. Glad to be here.
So Casey, let's start from the very beginning. What brought you, because I want everyone to see this progression of where you started, how you kind of fell into this path of roofing and being brand new. It's your first season, right?
Yeah, first season.
Made a switch to a new company, which we'll talk about. And on pace to be doing 10 plus K income per month since being there.
Yeah.
Did you ever see yourself earning that kind of money?
That's always been my goal. I say always, probably about the last 5 or 6 years is when I really made the decision to, pursue like a really high income job or, whether it come from investments or, anything else. But, I've just always wanted to earn a 6-figure income. And, at one point I thought, going back to college was going to be the answer. I actually went back to college real late. I actually graduated May of 2019. A little over halfway through, I kind of realized that probably wasn't the best path to a 6-figure income, but I was already over halfway done, so I just finished it anyway. But I really was of the mindset that I wanted to start my own business one day. I wasn't quite sure the details of it, but I thought that, hey man, that's really the best path for me to be able to earn that, really high income. And long story short, one day I just ran into a buddy of mine that I hadn't spoken to in some years, and he started telling me about roofing sales, and that he knows one of his friends that has been doing roofing sales for a number of years. And he was like, man, this guy makes a lot of money, like killer money. And I was like, what, roofing sales? Like I'd never heard. Like,
did you believe him that you could do that well in roofing sales?
I mean, I did, because this guy, like, I really trust him, and he's like a no nonsense type dude. So like, I know that he wasn't trying to, sell me a dream or anything like that. Like if he said it, then, I knew that there was some validity there. But it just came out of left field, because I'd never really known anything about roofing sales. Like, I'm like, really, roofing sales? Like, it just seems so random to me, And after that conversation, it was kind of in the back of my mind, but I hadn't made the decision yet. I really wasn't even considering it, to be honest. And then ran into another friend of mine that I hadn't talked to in years, and he told me the same thing. Like, man, I got there's this guy that I know, and he's in roofing sales, and he works for like 6 months a year, makes like 150K, and then just like takes a 6-month, vacay. And I'm like, are you serious? So that was when I was like, okay, let me, start actually looking into this. And everything I found, pretty much lined up with it. So I was just like, you know what, let's go ahead and, shoot my shot. So I just got on Indeed and just started shooting in some applications. I think I shot in like 6 or 8 to these random roofing companies that I knew nothing about. But I was like, you know what, let me just give it a shot. And if it doesn't work out, I'm still young. I'll be all right. So,
yeah.
And one of them called back, and, that was back in March. And that was pretty much it. Went in there, no sales experience, no roofing experience. I mean, I didn't even know what all went on a roof. Like literally, like I knew the shingles, that's it, and that's how I got in, and
yeah,
just kind of went from there.
That's about 8 months ago. So first season, and you were you first, I think, I don't remember, did you email me first, or would you make a comment on one of the videos on the channel? How did
I
we connect?
sent you an email first.
Sent me an email, and you shared that you were getting in, you were having a ton of fun and really excited, but then like there started to be some doubt. Can you share that story of kind of, let's forego names. I know we already talked about it. Let's forego
Yeah.
names. But you jumped in, everything was great until it wasn't. What happened?
Well, you know, I I got hired in March, and there hadn't been a hailstorm at that point in like 10 months, because I'm in the Houston area, and we hadn't had a hailstorm in almost a year. So they're telling me basically, this is a contingency, and this is where it fits into the whole scheme, and the goal is to get these things signed, because that means that it's a semi lock-in, that you're going to get paid, and so I'm like, okay. So for about a month, I mean, I basically told them like, look, I don't feel comfortable knocking on doors until I kind of feel like I have a better command, and they opened themselves up, and they sat down with me on numerous occasions and answered a ton of questions that I had for them. And I mean, they did their part in kind of preparing me. So about a month later, it hails 3 different times in like an 8-day period. All in the. So I was like, well, okay, this is it. I'm not confident at all. I don't feel like I know what I'm talking about, but just got to do it. This is what I signed up for. So went out, was paralyzed with fear, like just completely paralyzed with fear. I mean, I went into this neighborhood, just had like 1.5 inch, 1 and 3/4 inch hail, nice homes, packed in. There's probably, 700 or 800 homes in this neighborhood. So I'm like, all right. So I, pull over, sit there, and I'm just like stuck. Like I can't even open up the door. And I sat there for about 10 minutes, and I'm like, man, can I do this? I'm going to go knock on someone's door, because I get real nervous in situations like that. Well, used to. I mean, not anymore, but
I want to touch on that, the used to part. I'm right. By the way, I've got a couple of notes that you're saying. I'm going to ask some more questions too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go on. So you couldn't open the door.
And I just basically told myself, I said, man, I'm not going to use the exact words that I use, but basically it was like, I actually like verbally said this. I was like, man up, dude, quit being a wuss. And I just opened the door and just took off. And after about 3 doors, man, I was pretty comfortable, and I settled right in. And I still, my pitch, I'm sure, was pretty bad compared to what it is now, but I just started knocking, and long story short, because I have the tendency to ramble, let me just, cut right to it. Within 2 weeks of that time, I think I had signed up like 5 or 6 people. And I was all in, at that point. I was like, man, because they were telling me, you're going to average about 2,000 per roof. So I'm doing the math in my head, like 5, 6 roofs, 1.5 inch, 2-inch hail. I'm like, this is a done deal. I've just earned in 2 weeks, I've just earned like, $10,000 or $12,000. I'm like, so I'm full force now. Like I'm knocking every day. Like they're just getting like, my bosses, the owner, they're just all the way behind me. And they're just really, I mean, they ended up giving me a fully wrapped like 2016 F-150 company truck. So I'm, driving this company truck around, on their dime. And I'm just like super blessed. You know what I mean?
Sounded like an amazing thing when you and I talked. I mean,
it really was, man. Considering how long I had been there, and what they did, I was just blown away. But then those checks started coming in, and they were not anywhere near what I was told they would be. And I'm chalking it up to, okay, well, maybe insurance paid low on these, maybe the next ones will be more like what I was expecting. They never really materialized. So
what did they tell you was the reason? I'm curious.
Mhm.
What did they tell you was the reason for those checks coming in or the commissions being lower than you kind of anticipated? Because I know people listening are probably thinking like, oh, well, the margins weren't good. Or like you said, the insurance didn't pay well enough. And there's always two sides. By the way, anyone who's watching, there's three sides to every story. There's Casey's side, there's the company side, there's the unbiased truth, so to speak,
Yeah,
that is free of emotion. I have no agenda. I have no bias. I don't even know or remember the name of the company. It's insignificant. But the point is, there's a lot of factors. I'm curious, what was the main reason that they said that the checks weren't the commission that you were expecting and frankly counting on?
The most common one, I got a few. The most common one was insurance paid low. And, as I've gained experience, in the industry, I kind of thought back to some of those early jobs, and, some of them insurance did pay pretty damn low. But it's still like, it just, it didn't really, it didn't really add up to me. But I was really naive to the whole industry, and there was a lot of ins and outs of it that I didn't know and that I still don't, So I didn't want to jump to conclusions, which I never have,
Yeah.
But anyway, another one was, oh, well, he got an upgrade here, he got, he got the silver pledge warranty, like we ended up giving him that, so it's just a few things, but it really, I don't know. To me, I was like, man, I don't know. It doesn't. This isn't adding up to what I was told and to what I researched about the industry as a whole. So I really became disheartened. I was just like, man, I'm out here killing it. Which, don't get me wrong, like I'm not God's gift to roofing sales or anything like that. Like I wasn't just pulling in 4 or 5 a week, but I was consistently signing things up. And I was just expecting it to translate to more money.
And I think a big
pretty
thing,
much.
like if you had that promise, because I know I advertised to people like average commission was 1 to 2,000. I gave a range, but it's important to educate because those expectations dictate what paths you take, financial decisions you make. And especially if there's, which I learned, through running a team, there's decisions you have to make in terms of applying a warranty, but that comes out of the commission. And if that's the company's choice and not yours, it's a different thing. And again, I don't know the company. I don't know the whole story. It could be just that the margins were low, but either way, that there should be some transparency you can count at. So what, did you have complete transparency over your pay, by the way? Like, could you look at a cap sheet and see, we called it a cap sheet, but the breakdown, and see how your commission was calculated, or was it just sent off to you?
There was a breakdown, but there was really nothing that backed it up. It was like a spreadsheet that was typed out. I didn't see any like material invoices, labor cost invoice. Like I didn't see anything official, and still to this day, like I don't want to put it out there like I feel like I was being wronged or I was being screwed or anything like that. But just the fact is that what they were showing me, to me, it just was not what they said it was going to be. Now, come to find out, this company had 3 brick and mortar locations throughout the state, and the other 2 weren't really doing well compared to my branch. And I kind of suspect that the overhead was high and that my branch kind of had to, pull the weight, which resulted in lower margins, more being taken out of the jobs on, overhead or, administrative fees, whatever you want to call it. But it really kind of took the wind out of my sails. I mean, long story short, I might never know what was actually going on. I don't want to speculate too much. I've already kind of driven myself crazy with that, but
And if
bottom line is just it was not what I was told it was going to be.
Yeah. Which brings up a really good point. And I'd love to transition to the brighter side of this story, the new home that you have and that the success you're experiencing now. That we don't know the story. It's not my place to drive a wedge and be part of that story. And anytime, and I say this, but we're recording this now before this video is going to post, which I did on kind of how to identify whether or not you're with the right company. And let's just assume everybody was above board. Let's assume your commissions were handled. That spreadsheet was spot on. The issue is transparency. And the way that we ran it, if jobs were turned in Tuesday, you got paid Friday, assuming all the invoices we could collect in time. Like if the job got installed that Tuesday, we'd do everything we could to get them in. But that was the rule, Tuesday to Friday. You get paid Friday. You had the right to view your cap out. You had the right to view invoices. So everything was backed. We never wanted that seed of doubt. And ultimately, if the numbers are printed out, I know owners are watching, well, we don't want to share all that info. If you're paying off the profit, you have to share it because it educates the salesperson where those margins come from, how to sell profitable jobs. And if you had validated the raw invoices and said, oh man, then that would have changed your whole experience probably, or it could have. And you could have been like, well, crap, this is something I need to be in mind of supplementing, or, maybe we should sell an upgrade or whatever else was going on. But that level of transparency, that seed of doubt, the minute that anyone has a seed of doubt, it's a trust murderer, the ultimate trust murderer. And I think it could have been, who knows? And I know there were conversations, but so you had these flags. I don't want to be putting words in your mouth, but would you agree that felt like you lost confidence in the company selling with them because you didn't trust what was going on?
100%, and also, like another red flag, that kind of popped up to me was the fact that this company had been around for several years, and they did a lot of business, not like an insanely high amount, but, we were consistently, putting up roofs, and none of the sales team had been there for more than a few months. Like there were no like long-term sales guys, like I think when I got there, the longest tenured dude was probably 6 months, and then he was gone shortly after I got there, and pretty soon within like a 4-month period, I had been there longer than everybody, so it's like, man, you've been in business for several years, but you can't keep a consistent sales team fielded. Why is that? Yeah. And that was, to me, like, man, it just didn't feel right, and it was, ignorance on my part, just from being so brand new into the whole thing. It was one of those things, like my intuition told me that, it might not have been the right place, but I really didn't know enough to really just be able to say definitively, yes, this is what's going on, or this is what's going on. So it kind of like, I don't want to say like paralyzed me, but I was kind of stuck, because I'm like, man, I feel like this isn't right, but I really don't know how to validate whether that is actually true.
Yep. And in complete trend, so you reached out to me. Can I share some of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Casey reached out to me. It puts me, not, which you don't mean to do. I'm in a bizarre spot, because I can't say, hearing your side only, be like, go find another company. And did I ever tell you to do anything other than follow your heart?
Never.
Okay. I just wanted to get that out of the way, because I know that this could be a controversial thing. I understand from running a team that there's multiple stories, and ultimately it needs to be a good fit. It's like dating. You could be with the most beautiful partner in the world, but if they suck, and then only one person thinks they suck, but the other one, like, it takes two to be in a good relationship. You know what I mean? Like, and when I say beauty, internal beauty, external beauty, whatever you want to do. But my point is, it takes two to have a good relationship, and the sales force and the company fit is so important. So fast forward for a minute, you decide to make the leap because you trusted your gut. There's a lot of people that have been where you were, and it was either company transparency, company pay issues, lack of confidence in themselves, poor company culture fit, period. And new people make this decision of, is this industry even for me? And 9 out of 10 of them jump ship. what about this whole thing kept you so inspired that you were willing to continue, and you realized maybe I should continue, but it's just a matter of finding the right company fit? And you can spare any private details, but I'd love to know, like, what made you want to keep going? Forget the company. What made you want to keep going and not just say, F the industry, this is BS?
Well, quite frankly, I mean, the earning potential. I mean, well, I mean, that's the bottom line. Like, I felt like, man, if there are companies that I can work for, that I can make that, you know, 1,800, 2,000 on average, or at least work my way up to where I can earn that much, you know, this is totally, you know, where it's at, because I experienced success as far as signing people up, you know, as far as, I mean, I'd gotten comfortable knocking doors, and I knew that if the money was right, that I could be very successful. You know, like if I was being paid enough for doing this, that I can, you know, really succeed. And I had kind of had it on my mind anyway, that I was like, man, you know, I really need to reach out to some like veteran roof salesmen, you know, like some, you know, guys, girls, whatever, that have been doing this and that are having a lot of success, and just pick their brain and just really figure out what's not, you know, what's going on. And I was actually I was doing a build agreement with one of my customers. And as I was walking up to the house, you know, and I'm in the fully wrapped, you know, company truck, and there's this guy from another roofing company knocking on the neighbor's door. So me, you know, I'm a freaking goofball. So I just looked at him. I was like, damn, bro, you just gonna roll up on my turf like that? He was like, oh no, man. I was like, no, man, I'm just messing with you, dude. I'm just messing. But anyway, so we started talking, right? And I told him, hey, there's a bunch of renters right over here. You know, I wouldn't knock on this house, this house, this house, all these, you know. So anyway, whenever I left that customer's house, about 30 minutes later, him and his boss rolled up, and you know, we started just, you know, having a friendly conversation about, you know, we're just talking shop, you know. Oh man, how many you got in here? Oh, I got this, you know, and somehow that it looped around to how much money I was making. And I told him how much money I was making on average. And he was like, what? He's like, dude, you're going to have to give me some numbers, you know, for that job, because I'm telling you right now, like, that does not sound right. So I ran some basic numbers down, you know, the overall contract price, supplement, you know, square count, all that. And he was like, dude, for that specific job, I had brought home, I think, $685 before supplement. And after the supplement, it bumped it up to like just over 1,000. Mm-hmm. And he said, dude, if you would have been with us before supplement, you would have made $1,800 on that. And after supplement, you would have just cracked 2,000.
And was that the same with the old company and the new company? Same responsibilities in terms of sales and how you produce? Okay. Yeah. So that's important, because a lot of people that don't touch production or supplement earn less because they don't have the time on that. So they're in charge of volume. So for anyone listening, every pay scale is different based on the company, what the sales rep's responsibilities are. And I just want to make sure it was an apples to apples comparison, because some mistakes people make, I just want to air this out for anyone listening. Some mistakes people make, like if you're in charge of just sales and not production, not supplementing, nothing, you're just turning in sales, you're going to get paid a lower amount. That doesn't mean you can earn less, because all of the time babysitting jobs and supplementing and processing takes up a crap load of time. And I've watched people, like on our company, we removed all of this and lowered the pay, and then people started to earn more. So it was a lower commission, but it was easier to sell more volume because they weren't babysitting these things. It's a disproportionate amount. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knows, like, this is a direct apples to apples comparison. It's not a, well, if you move to this plan, like, I know those details because we shared it. I think it's important for everyone to understand that.
This is the exact same position. I mean, essentially, this isn't the name of it, but essentially it's like a project manager. You bring business and are responsible for seeing that through, you know, meeting with the adjuster, drawing up the build agreements, collecting checks, being there on build day, running materials. I mean, it's pretty much identical. We
Yep.
weren't responsible for supplementing in either spot,
Gotcha.
so literally the exact same responsibilities.
Yeah.
So when he told me that, I was like, in my head, I'm like, dude, you just told me that I could make, 2.5 times the money. Even if that's off a little bit, even if he's fudging a couple of $100, that's still like, okay, I'm going to listen to you now. Like, you've got my interest, So anyway, he got my number. He ended up calling me back later that night, and we talked for about an hour, and then we ended up talking like the next day for about 30 minutes. Long story short, he was like, look, I talked to the owner about you, and he wants you to come in and he wants to talk to you. He's not going to try to pull you, he's just going to talk to you and just to let you know what we're about and just see if it's right for you, And I went in there, and one of the first things that the owner told me was, I am completely transparent. You see every cent that flows through all of your jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Let you see invoices. I mean, you see everything, and I mean, this is probably not normal. I wouldn't expect this, but he was basically selling the overall company culture, which is an awesome company culture. All the sales guys are driving brand new trucks, brand new Jeeps. You know what I mean? Like, I could just see it in their faces, when they would tell me, man, there's a lot of money to be made here. Like, you can tell whenever someone's just saying something, versus when they really mean it.
Mm-hmm.
They meant it. And even after all that, about an hour later, I told him, I was like, look, man, I said, I have no doubt that you have an awesome company here. I said, man, but I need to see it, man. Like, I need to see, just show me something that validates what you're saying. And I don't want you to take offense, to feel like I think you're lying, because I don't. But
Jaded.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, sure. He freaking took me behind his desk, and, he went to, pulling up jobs, just some examples, of kind of the way they broke down, sales rep, commissions, this guy was paid this, this much on this job. And he took me behind our supplement wizard's desk, and he started, showing me some of the jobs that he had supplemented for. And I was just that whole attitude. Like, not only were the numbers like exponentially higher than what I was used to seeing, but just the whole attitude of, yeah, man, I don't have anything to hide. I want everybody to make it. I want everybody to eat. I want everybody to succeed. And that attitude was so apparent that when I walked out of there, I knew that it was only a matter of time,
Yeah. So what would you, that shift, there's two things I want to reply to on what you said. Ultimately, the industry didn't change. The neighborhoods don't change. Nothing changes other than the shirt you put on and the company that supports you, right?
Yeah.
And although on the surface, that's not a lot, but deeper, it's much deeper. There's confidence, there's trust. You mentioned company culture a few times, transparency, which develops trust and confidence. And that is the most important thing, in my opinion. The other thing I want to touch on, and then I'm going to ask you a question, is the compensation. Many companies will try to, and this didn't happen to you, thank God, but many companies will try to steal salespeople from other companies by saying, we'll pay you more. And it's it's like giving away a deductible, It's like kind of slimy and not really right to just be like, I'll just pay you more than them, because there's so much more to this than pay. And you've seen it. Like, I chose the company that I first went with that I never left. They're a fantastic company. It's absolutely fantastic. And when I left 6 years ago, there are still people selling there. The last person I hired is still there. And I didn't start that culture. The owner started that culture. I helped grow the culture, but I joined them as my first roofing company not because of the pay, because it was actually less than some other people, but because I believed in them, in the culture, and the transparency, everything you just described. And I think it's important that people maintain this holistic view that, yes, the money, very freaking important for you to make a living. But beyond that, this culture, this fit, like your expectations, if they were different at the first company, I mean, they gave you a truck. Like I remember you were like, dude, they're taking care of me. They're investing in me. But then all those seeds of doubt come in and it's like, man, I can't do this. And then I remember you sharing with me, like, you didn't feel right continuing to sell and represent them because it was about you. Are you going to be there? Are you not going to be there? Is this company going to fulfill? They didn't really fulfill on their promise. If they would have told you that your average commission was $800, you would have planned differently, versus expecting this. And then it's like, what? So if you were to list out like in a bullet, what do you feel is the most important thing for a sales rep to choose a company? Like what you went through, like you this company you're with, which by the way, for people, this is, a picture. Casey sent me a few photos of these monster roofs he's landing and having fun, which is huge. But what do you think are like the top, I don't know, 3 to 5 things that you would tell another salesperson? This is what I recommend you ask, and how to choose the right company.
I would say number one lines right up with what you said. Transparency. I mean, because anyone can tell you that this is what the company's profit is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, tell you that, but if they're not like giving you numbers to back that up and like validate that claim, then at some point you're going to doubt it, So I say just an overall transparency and just a willingness for them to say, hey, I'm willing to show you everything. So you have no, because that's huge,
What about culture? You mentioned culture. How would you like define that? Because this is like the hottest word now in the world. Company culture is so important. But what does culture mean to you? Like, how did it feel to find a good culture match?
It felt really good, man. It's just, this is, if I can boil it down, this is probably the best way to put it. I feel my current company, Rooftop Innovations, shout out to them. Nothing but great things to say, man. But is that they want me to succeed. They get excited. Like the owner of the freaking company, whenever I signed this, I signed up like a 91 square, I think it was my 91 square build. And when I signed it, and we have a company group chat, where we all, like post up pictures of, us on roofs, on them, all that, and he called me on my phone that evening, after he saw that post. He was like, dude, you're out there on them monsters, man. That is what's up, man. Hey, man, I just want to let you know, great freaking job. And it's just, I could feel like they're just so, they want everyone to succeed. And when we do, they are legitimately happy to see it, and I would say that feeling, just that overall attitude of, hey, we're all a team. And when you succeed, everyone succeeds, not only from like a monetary standpoint, but just the good vibes, someone lands, a really big roof, or, gets like, 5, 6 in a week, like people are like stoked about it, like it's just, it's just a really cool environment, and it makes working fun, and I don't know, man, like that's probably the best way that I can boil it down.
I love that. It makes working fun when you're invested in too, and by the way, I tell this to every owner I work with. I met with 3 owners this week. It's Thursday morning. Every single one, I said, do you want salespeople to stick around? You invest in them as individual humans. You find out what's important to them. You help them succeed. Because the reality is anyone can swap a shirt and go sell for another company. But what gets people to stay, and it works for everybody, is when they feel like they're at home, they feel supported, they're growing, they're working towards their goals. And it's amazing. I wrote an article on LinkedIn years ago called The Power of a Pat on the Back, just how important it is to acknowledge success. And that's great. Like you gave that example, the owner calls you, says, great job on a 91 square. Hell yeah, dude. Like every sales manager listening, every owner listening, do that to your team, because it's also good to build relationships. And then it's, I don't know, like you said, it's a feeling. You feel at home. So thanks for sharing that. On this last note, because I know we're running out of time, we talked, I wrote this down in my chicken scratch here. Can't open the door, right? Everyone knows that feeling. And William, who was on the channel a few weeks ago, shared the same thing. If I can get past that first door, I can do the rest. What you've shared with me and with everyone listening is inspiration of your mindset and dedication. And in any books on personal development, you become what you think about most of the time. If you think about doubt and failure and all this stuff, I guarantee you are paving your way to failure by having those. But when you said, I know this industry works, I know I can do it, you called yourself a negative word and said, I'm just going to get past this door and get out. And then you do. So you clearly have this mindset and you've already visioned it. You already know what you've already hit 6 figures. It's a matter of materializing it in day-to-day life, which you're on pace, as you talked about, to do 10 plus grand of income per month. What would you share if you had your own team of salespeople around you and you said, guys, I want you to succeed? What would you tell them they need to work on with their mindset to stay focused and to get past their own car door?
Just you gotta trust in your own personal vision. I mean, no one gets into this because it's safe, because it's because it's secure. No one gets into this because it's easy or because it's comfortable. They get into it because they want to make a lot of money. I mean, pretty much.
It's not easy and comfortable.
It's so you just got to trust that if you just push through it, that you will meet your goals. Like just being willing to step out on that limb and bet on yourself. That would be like, I guess, the best way to put it, because I had never done it. I'd never done anything remotely close to what I'm doing now. Like
most people haven't.
It's always been easy for me to talk to people, but that was literally like the only thing that I was leaning on. Oh, well, I can talk to people easy, so hopefully that's enough, And I just went for it and just was like, you know what? I know that I'm too stubborn to fail. So I just trusted that if I just went out there and did it, that I would succeed. And, I'm still in the very early stages, but since coming over to this new company, I mean, not quite so new anymore. I'd say I've been over there about 2.5 months now, somewhere in that area. But, let's just call it 2 months. I've got, a safe bet is I've earned $20,000, possibly 25 or 30. It just depends. I've got a couple, but I'm still waiting on official answers, whether or not they're going to get bought. But if everything, let's say in a perfect world, if everything that I've got lined up so far gets bought, which I'm still waiting on too, that's 30 grand, or close to it, in 2 months time.
Yeah. And that's also being new. And when before this, you and I talked, do you mind just holding up one of those things you were working on before? Oh. So anyway, you can hide the address. I'll blur it out. I'll blur it out on YouTube. No poaching, people. Anyway, direct mail. And you mentioned working through some kinks on getting the system down and getting into a flow. And if you're doing that averages out to closer to 15,000 a month, which for anyone, the magic number for 200,000 a year is 16,666 a month. And that's not, when you think about it, if you're at 10 to 15 to push it the extra 1,000, that's a supplement. That's 1 or 2 more sales in a year, maybe more than 1 or 2, whatever, 5 more in a year, less than 1 a month to push it and getting into that flow and the rhythm and working out all the kinks of being new. So, man, you are setting up just a massively successful season. And it has been just such a joy hearing your journey and how you fell into this, how you've kind of rebuilt your life, so to speak, in using roofing sales as the channel to do it, and just having the determination of no setbacks. And I wrote those 3 things down that you'd said: trust in the vision, bet on yourself, and too stubborn to fail. And I love those three. That's awesome. And if you can't trust in the vision, by the way, this isn't just for roofing salespeople. Anything you want to do, people want to get into roofing sales to get into real estate. That's like the most common thing. Want to get into roofing sales to get real estate investments. So number one thing I hear, owners, sales reps, everything. Everybody wants real estate, but you have to have the vision to know what that's going to look like. And I'll tell you, a lot of people have a big thought or idea, but when you get crystal clear on that vision, you think about it every morning, it's going to happen. And you have to bet on yourself to make it work. Because if you're not betting on yourself, I guarantee you no one else is. That's a damn truth. And no one's going to walk you to that success. And then too stubborn to fail. I love that. You very easily could have called it quits and went and taken a safe desk job from 9 to 5, but you didn't. And you're like super pumped on this. You mentioned the owner reached out, you told him about this interview, and like, dude, it's insane. It's insane, the possibility. I mean, 100 to 200,000 or more in a year, coming from the skill set of being good talking to people. I had that skill set too. I just happened to be a total baby and sensitive, and then look what happens. This industry's pretty special, man. So
it really is.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm sure it's going to inspire a lot of people here. Is there anything that I didn't touch on that you want to share, or any words of advice for new salesmen or sales managers or owners who are listening, just to help people succeed and have better relationships?
I mean, I'm just going to drive that point home again. When it comes to just, sales reps, find the right company. Don't just jump into the first company just for the sake of doing it. Do your research, figure out a good fit for you. And you might not have a bunch of opportunities out there, but, do your best to research and really land at a good spot, because not all roofing companies are the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there's some good companies out there that do people right, but, might not be able to live off of the commissions, so I would just say, do your due diligence on, before you actually go for it, because it could burn you out. If you land at the wrong spot and you're not seeing what you wanted to see, you may just decide to leave the industry, and you could have left an opportunity to make, a lot, like, life-changing money. So yeah, there's that. And as far as owners, I mean, there's very few things that I can actually tell an owner about roofing, but one of the things is, regarding taking care of people, just be transparent, because that's what we want. Like, at the end of the day, we're earning a living, like, we're feeding our families. You know what I mean? So, never lose sight of that. Like, we're not just a body out there generating income, and
yeah, which is something every owner just needs to hear. I'm sorry to interrupt you. That is the number one problem with this industry and with high turnover. Everyone thinks just a body making money, and it's not.
Yeah.
And when you said, I don't have any advice for an owner, you do, man, because you have a perspective that they don't. We are too close to it. I jump in and they're like, well, what's a dormer? I'm like, dude, I don't freaking how you need to go through all this stuff, but I forget what it's like to be brand new because I'm too close to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course I know I need to teach these things, but my point in sharing that is owners are so far removed from your perspective. And I always teach, and I told, even within our own company, my number one customer was my sales team, period. Of course, I took care of our customers, but I knew that ultimately the people that fed the company were our sales team, not our customers. Our sales teams are first, which is you. So great advice. Sorry to sidetrack you on that one, man.
Oh, no, you're good, man.
Is there anything else that you'd share with owners, since I totally hijacked a rich comment that I really wanted to drive in?
No, man. I mean, that's pretty much it, man. I mean, and I'm not saying anything like profound, I mean, it's really common sense, but it really amazes me, that people don't see it. But, like, if you're trying to earn the most money for your company, if you're trying to do the most business, why would you want to go through like a revolving door of salespeople that are not experienced, because they don't stay there long enough to really become really good, and really just be aces that can just kill it out there, So, like, why would you not invest in your sales team? Do whatever it takes to make them happy, even if it means paying them a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
or being more transparent,
Yep.
But they're going to earn you when they're happy, and when they stick around long enough to actually become really good, they're going to earn you so like exponentially more money in the long run. So, I mean, it blows my mind how people don't see it that way, but because to me it's so obvious. But I would just say, take care of your people, man, because I mean, look, I came over to my current company, Rooftop Innovations, and been in the industry maybe 4 or 5 months, and was good enough to sell some roofs, but I was far from an ace, like I wasn't just some killer out there. But they took me in, trained me up, like really like hands-on, like went with me to the doors and really critiqued me and molded me a little bit. And with a few small tweaks, I mean, in 2 months time, I've generated them probably, oh man, I wouldn't even begin to know.
A lot.
I mean, yeah, I've done well in just 2 months time, and I wouldn't have done that at my last company, because they didn't really invest, in me becoming better. And if you do that, man, I mean, you're gonna have a badass team, and you're gonna make a lot more money. I mean, pretty much.
That's fantastic advice, man. I'm going to be sharing this with owners as well, because that perspective we all lose touch on, and it's amazing just hearing an unfiltered view from someone new in the industry, because everyone wants to find new people, and new people are what fuels growth. Everyone wants to grow, and if you can just be good, invest in people the right way, you're a testament to it. Look at you, not giving up, finding a great company. Everyone's happy. Everybody's doing well. I mean, it's a win-win-win. You win, company wins, customer wins, and you enjoy going to work every day. So, man, thank you for joining us. I know we went 5 over here, and I just want to say I really appreciate you being part of this. Appreciate your engagement on the YouTube channel, reaching out, and you inspired a lot of videos, by the way, too. So thank you for that one, and thanks for sharing this with everybody. So, Casey,
no, man,
thanks, man.
Without you, man, I wouldn't. You were my roofing sales training for the first several months. I just, want to make that clear. Self-trained watching Adam's YouTube videos. I mean, it worked too. Anyway.
Well, thanks for the plug, man. I appreciate it. And for anyone listening who might be new, we're going to put a card up, one of these corners. Click here for the Pitch Like a Pro Roofing Sales Training Video Library. Owners, grab it for your team. Guys, thanks for joining. Casey, thank you. We'll see you guys soon.
All right, man. Take it easy, brother.